Hello guys, tonight we're stepping quietly into the shadow of a forgotten world. What you're about to hear is a gentle, step-by-step journey into the final night of Pompeii, August 24th, 79 AD. A warm summer day that ended not with the usual sound of laughter and the clink of amphorae, but with a silence that lasted for centuries. Before we begin, I'd love it if you could comment your current location and the time you're listening. It's always a wonder to me how we're all sharing these soft corners of history from different corners of the world, beneath different skies. Now, go ahead and get cozy. Pull the blanket a little tighter around your shoulders, let your body sink softly into the bed or couch wherever you are. Rest your hands. Slow your breath. Let the night wrap around you like the velvet dark over the Bay of Naples, and let your thoughts drift away from the present, into a time when the world felt smaller and yet, somehow, grander. You find yourself in the town of Pompeii, nestled like a gemstone near the sparkling coast of southern Italy. It's the late afternoon of August 23rd, 79 AD. The heat of the day is beginning to slip behind the rooftops and a golden haze lingers in the air, dusty, soft and familiar. You walk slowly through the forum, where marble statues cast long shadows across the flagstone. The smell of bread lingers from a nearby bakery, warm and sweet. You pause a moment at a stall where a vendor sells ripe figs and honey cakes. Children laugh somewhere out of sight. Everything feels calm, normal. The volcano, Mount Vesuvius, rises in the distance, shrouded in a faint cloud, as it often is. You've seen it that way since you were a child. It looks, as always, eternal. Pompeii in this moment is alive with the low hum of civilization. Artisans chisel marble in their open workshops. The sound of metal on stone is rhythmic and soothing. Wealthy Romans discuss politics in shaded atriums, their conversation laced with theatrical flourishes. You pass a garden where peacocks strut among the clipped laurels. The fountains burble. There's a serenity here that feels almost deliberate, as if the city itself knows it must savour every second of peace. As the sun sinks lower, the town takes on a coppery glow. You return to your own domus, a modest but elegant home with a tiled floor and painted walls. There is a mosaic of Neptune in your atrium, glistening faintly as candlelight begins to fill the space. Dinner is simple. Lentils with garum, the rich fermented fish sauce that permeates every Roman kitchen. A cup of red wine. Crusty bread with olive oil. You eat slowly, quietly, as if time has thickened somehow. The city around you settles into dusk. And above it all, far in the distance, the mountain breathes a little harder. Not enough to alarm, just enough to whisper. That night, as you prepare for sleep, the air outside is unusually still. You open a window, and somewhere, the sea reflects the starlight like a mirror. The scent of the earth is sharp, but not unpleasant. You dream of festivals, of dancing torches and laughter, of life continuing as it always has. But the mountain is waiting, and by morning, everything will begin to change. Morning breaks with a strange quiet. The first light filters through your window, touching the tiled floor with its delicate pink glow. But something feels different. Birds are absent from the sky, their usual chorus replaced with an eerie hush. You rise slowly, stretch, and glance toward the distant line of trees. A faint shudder runs beneath your feet, like a pulse from the underworld. It's so subtle you might believe you imagined it, but when the clay pitcher on your table trembles and clinks, you realize it was real. Out in the street, the city stirs with uncertainty. People murmur to one another. A cart is overturned where the cobbles buckled slightly during the early tremor. Old men mutter about similar quakes years ago, harmless ones that came and went. But this time, the air feels denser, heavier, as though holding its breath. Above it all, Mount Vesuvius now wears a thin white plume, rising steadily into the sky. You watch it through narrowed eyes. It's not uncommon, but it is larger than usual. The forum is less crowded than yesterday. Merchants remain behind their counters, but glance often toward the sky. At the Temple of Jupiter, a small crowd gathers to offer incense and prayers. The priests speak reassuringly. The gods are testing Pompeii, they say, nothing more. In the distance, another tremor rolls beneath the earth. Stronger this time. The walls of the temple creak. Dust falls from a column's capital. You spend the morning visiting friends and family. Conversations float gently through atriums and courtyards, quiet worries wrapped in careful language. Everyone feels it, this strange wrongness, but no one quite says it aloud. The Romans were proud, after all, and deeply tied to the rhythm of order and ritual. Disruption did not come easily into words. By afternoon, the tremors have returned, more frequent, still small, but relentless. As if something deep beneath the earth has awakened and begun to stir, stretch and shift. Dogs bark ceaselessly, horses refuse to enter the stables. You see a child crying near the baths, her mother holding her close, both of them staring at the mountain. The smoke is darker now, a thicker thread of grey that twists upward like a finger reaching for the gods. And yet the town does not flee. This is Rome's world, a world of foundations and stone, a world of reason. To leave would be to surrender to fear, and so they remain. You remain. In the late evening, just before night descends, another tremor shakes the earth, strong enough to crack a wall in your neighbour's villa, strong enough that the water in the fountains leaps, but then again it passes. The mountain remains distant, silent, watching. That night the stars are dull behind a veil of smoke. The sea is quiet, and once more you lie in your bed, waiting, listening to the distant rumbles of a world about to change forever. It begins not with thunder, but with a sound like tearing fabric, an echo from deep within the mountain that breaks the dawn silence and ripples through the stones of your house. The light is bluish and thin, not quite sunrise, not quite night. Then a rumble, long and low, as if the earth itself has begun to groan. You stand in the courtyard, the sky above still shrouded in grey mist, and then it happens. A sudden burst of flame, bright, unnatural, erupts from the peak of Vesuvius. The column of fire and ash rises fast, impossibly fast. It stretches miles into the sky, thick and black at its root, then lighter, whiter, tinged with electric veins of static that dart and crackle. You are not alone in watching it. The entire city spills into the streets. Some weep, others fall to their knees. A few stare in stunned silence. You hear someone whisper that Vulcan himself has awoken, angered by forgotten offerings. It is just after breakfast when the ash begins to fall. At first like soft snow, flakes as fine as flour that dust your shoulders, your hair, the rooftops. You can brush it away. It doesn't hurt, but it doesn't stop. Within an hour the sun is gone. The light turns to shadow. The ash thickens, no longer gentle. It clings to your skin, seeps into the folds of your tunic, coats the streets in grey. The city is in motion now. Carts rattle past, overloaded with chests, animals, screaming children. The air is filled with coughing. People wrap their faces in cloth, wet it with wine or oil to keep out the dust. You do the same. Your neighbours shout for each other. The priests call for calm. You see someone, perhaps your cousin, carrying a statue of Apollo from their shrine, whispering a prayer. Another man digs frantically in the soil, searching for coins buried for safekeeping. And the ash still falls. You make your way toward the harbour, but the streets are growing slippery. Roofs begin to cave under the weight. Every few moments a thunderclap, no longer from the sky but from buildings collapsing under the burden of falling stone and ash. The air is hot now, close, almost too thick to breathe. You cover your mouth again. The sea is just visible beyond the haze. Ships already crowding the bay, though the waters are rough and tides strange. Pliny the Elder, you've heard, has set out from Misenum to get closer, to observe, to help. He is brave. You are not sure if he will make it back. Hours pass, but it feels like minutes, or centuries. The sun is a dim red orb, trying and failing to pierce the sky. Some begin to say this is the end of the world. You do not argue. The wind shifts. The column above the Vesuvius swirls with new violence. You can no longer see the top of the mountain. You can no longer see the sky. By mid-afternoon, something changes. Not just the air, which is thicker now, past the point of breathing comfortably. Not just the ash, which falls in heavy sheets. It's the sound. A kind of silence, but not peaceful, dense and pressing, as if the world has drawn in one last breath. And then it exhales. From the belly of Vesuvius, a cloud billows outward, not upward, a wall of fury that pours down the slope like liquid fire, grey, fast, massive. It does not look like smoke anymore. It is something else, something solid. You watch as it devours the northern reaches of the city. Herculaneum, they say later, was swallowed whole in minutes. People scream now, openly. Panic floods every street, every courtyard. You run, feet slipping, lungs burning. The ground vibrates. The cloud grows closer, closer. It rushes low, sweeping through orchards and villas and stables. The air is filled with heat, unbearable heat, and a sound like thousands of voices, all crying out at once and being cut off. You turn one last time and see the sky itself folding inward, dark and furious. You find a cellar, stone-walled, deep and dry. You push inside with others, neighbours, strangers. You don't know how many. You only know the door closes, and the world above becomes a muffled, distant roar. It is not quiet. It will not be quiet for a long, long time. Time inside the cellar begins to lose its shape. At first it's only the darkness. Your eyes, used to the brightness of midday, strain to adjust. The faint light from cracks in the door gives shape to shadows, faces, limbs, the outlines of a broken amphora. You sit against the wall, pressed shoulder to shoulder with others. You hear breathing, coughing, whispers, and above all, the distant, ceaseless thunder from above. It doesn't fade. It grows louder. At moments the ground heaves, sharp jerking motions that send dust raining from the ceiling. The air becomes harder to draw into your lungs, hotter. You press the cloth tighter to your face. Others do the same. A child nearby sobs, her mother gently rocking her, murmuring the same words again and again. A prayer or a memory. You close your eyes and try to think of anything but the weight above you. The mountain, the stone, the ash. Hours pass, perhaps more. The light from the cracks in the cellar door is almost gone now. You can't tell if it's night or if the ash has buried the entrance. Someone tries the door and finds it stuck. Not locked, just heavier. Pressed, like the world above is sinking. Voices grow quieter. People conserve their breath. Some lie down on the floor, their hands over their hearts, lips moving in silent devotion to Jupiter, to Mercury, to Vesta. But there is no answer, only the sound. Still distant but constant, a rhythm of collapse, like mountains falling over and over. You think of your home, the little bronze lamp you left burning in the atrium, the mosaic of Neptune, his face calm, his trident held high. You think of the bread left cooling on the table, of the simple clay bowl of figs on the shelf. You wonder how long it will take before it is all buried. The cellar is warmer now. You've unfastened your tunic, pulled your knees to your chest. Breathing is shallow, but it keeps you awake. You try not to sleep. You've heard that sleep in heat like this is dangerous, deep, final. So you stay awake. You speak quietly to the woman next to you, an older figure, her face lined but kind. She tells you about her husband who once met a consul in Rome. She tells you about the vineyard they once walked through outside the city gates, where the grapes grew so sweet they stained your hands. Her voice grows slower. The roof shakes again. This time dust and pebbles fall hard enough to sting. A crack appears along the ceiling's edge, thin and winding like a spider's web. You all stare, but it holds. You whisper a quiet thanks to the gods. Any gods. Outside, the roar deepens again. You can hear it through the stones now, like waves crashing against cliffs, like fire raging through forests. It's no longer just noise, it's motion, pressure, hunger. And then, through the smallest of cracks, a faint glow. Not daylight, not the stars, a strange orange flicker, hot, pulsing, alive. You do not know yet that this is the first edge of the pyroclastic surge, breaking through parts of the city, vaporizing wood, shattering pottery, turning human breath into stillness in an instant. You do not yet know that the ash outside is no longer soft, but choking, superheated, dense, unstoppable. You only know that the air is changing again, that you must press yourself lower, flatter, closer to the earth, that others do the same, that no one speaks now, not even the child. You are underground, in a world that has become smaller by the hour. You do not know if morning will come. You do not know if it should. Above you, Pompeii is no longer a city of streets and fountains, laughter and sandals on stone. It is a city without sound. The rooftops have vanished beneath layers of ash. Courtyards are buried. The grand columns of the Forum, once so proud, are reduced to half their height, their capitals crumbling under the sheer weight of the falling sky. Only fragments of walls remain, like broken teeth in the dust. Faint outlines of houses and temples still cling to their old shapes, but even they are softening, swallowed by the ash. It is as though the mountain has not just buried the city, it is erasing it. And through this ruin, the air no longer moves as it should. There is no breeze, no birdsong, only the whisper of falling particles, thick as snow, but hot and sharp and constant. No one walks the streets now. Those who did not flee in the earliest hours are gone, taken by fire or suffocated in silence. Some were frozen mid-step, their faces turned skyward, arms raised as if to shield themselves from the invisible blow that ended them. Others were gathered in rooms, families, servants, the elderly, caught between hope and hesitation. They lie curled beside their hearths, their shapes preserved, as if dreaming. The dogs have stopped barking. The horses have gone quiet. Every sound in the world has fallen into ash. And below, in the small cellar, you remain. Your chest rises slowly. It takes more effort now. Each breath feels heavier than the last. The heat has grown close, oppressive and constant, like being pressed between stone and flame. The others stir less. The older woman beside you has not spoken in a long while. Her hand still rests on your sleeve, but it's cold. You do not check her face, you simply hold her hand gently, like a pebble from the river. A boy across from you begins to hum, quietly, something small and old, a nursery tune. It trembles in the space like a ghost, then vanishes. The stone walls creak again, you hear it above, the thud of something collapsing. You imagine the bakery, the one with the honey loaves you passed just yesterday, its ovens now still and buried. You think of the baths once filled with steam and conversation, now filled only with dust. Time continues to unravel. There is no sense of hours anymore, just pressure, just warmth, just the closeness of bodies trying not to disappear. Your mouth is dry. The cloth you hold over your face is no longer enough. You can feel the ash creeping in. It tastes bitter like crushed stone and iron. You cough, but even that sound feels swallowed by the dark. You press your back tighter against the wall, your fingers tracing a groove in the stone, some old tool mark maybe, left by a mason long gone. You fix your mind on it, as if it could anchor you to something real. And then, faintly, you feel it. The pulse of the ground changes. Not the slow, rumbling tremors that came before. This is deeper, broader, as though something enormous has cracked inside the mountain itself. A release. The final exhale. You hear it next, a roar, not distant but close, pressing against the stones like a wave ready to break. The boy who hummed now covers his ears. Others begin to stir, sensing what is coming, even without seeing it. The orange glow has brightened through the cracks. You close your eyes. You imagine the sea, the quiet sea, the one that once lapped against the docks in the early morning light. You imagine the garden with its clipped laurels, the peacocks, the fountains, the voices of friends. You remember laughter and warmth and the hum of a city that believed it was eternal. And then the world begins to shake, truly shake, like a drum struck from below. The breath of Vesuvius has reached its final crescendo, and above, the sky collapses inward once more. When the trembling ends, it's not silence that follows, but something stranger, a kind of numbness. The sound is still there, the hiss of ash, the the deep groaning of stone, the whimper of someone dreaming beside you. But it no longer feels like sound. It's more like pressure on the skin, like being underwater. You find yourself counting your own breaths, just to be sure they still come. The cellar walls have begun to warm, not enough to burn, not yet, but enough to draw sweat from your brow, to make the stone damp where you lean against it. The air is thick, difficult now, clinging to your throat like syrup. Each inhalation tastes like charcoal and earth, and each exhalation brings only the wish for more space, more room, more sky. There's no telling how long you've been here. It could be an hour, it could be 10. You've lost the sun, and with it, time itself. The others around you move less. Some sleep, or try to. One man, maybe in his 30s, whispers something to himself, over and over. The name of someone he left behind, perhaps, or the name of someone he hopes to see again, if the gods are merciful. You feel the need to shift, but find that your limbs are stiff, pinned in place by fear and fatigue. You flex your fingers in the dark, feeling the grit that covers them, ash and sweat and fine particles of marble dust. You wonder how much of the city now lives inside your lungs. Outside, things have grown quieter, not because the eruption has stopped, but because so much has already fallen. The roofs above you must be gone. There is likely a thick drift of ash sealing you in. You imagine the street you once walked, now buried beneath meters of soft, weighty silence. You imagine the fig seller's stall, the mosaic of Neptune in your atrium, the laundry hanging still on the line in your garden, all gone now, covered, preserved, forgotten. Someone lights a small oil lamp, shielding the flame carefully with their hand. It flickers weakly in the dust-heavy air, casting long shadows against the stone. In its glow, you see the faces around you, pale, hollow-eyed, but human, real, and somehow still alive. A child begins to cry. Not loudly, just a gentle whimper, the kind born of thirst and fear. No one shushes them. There's no strength left for that. Instead, someone offers a water skin, nearly empty. The child drinks, then passes it on. It feels almost sacred, this act, simple, human, necessary. A moment of kindness at the end of the world. You lean your head back against the wall and close your eyes again. Not to sleep, not yet, but to disappear into thought. You remember the morning, before it all began, how the light painted everything golden, how the birds sang without care, how your neighbour stopped you just outside your door to ask if you'd heard the rumours of strange tremors near Herculaneum, how you both laughed it off, how far away the danger had seemed. You open your eyes again and look around. In the lamp's flicker, you see a young woman writing with her finger in the ash on the floor. Letters, maybe a name, maybe a prayer. She wipes it away with the edge of her tunic before anyone can see. You meet her eyes. Neither of you speaks. But you know what she wrote. You don't need to see it. It was the same word, written silently in every heart in that room. Why? You reach for the wall again, feeling its solidness, the coolness it still holds deep beneath the surface heat. It anchors you, a part of the world that still remembers the days before, and then, once more, the ground moves. This time not a tremor, but a shift, a settling. The weight above you has grown too much. You hear it clearly, the sigh of a collapsing beam, the splinter of wood, the groan of burdened stone. Dust rains down from a crack in the ceiling. No one screams. There is no panic left, only a slow, quiet realization. Time is not on your side. And yet you remain, breathing, watching, feeling the long hours stretch into something more than just waiting. You reach into your satchel and find the little bronze pendant you've worn since you were a child, a tiny image of Fortuna. You press it into your palm, not to pray, not anymore, but to remember that once there was a world above you, and it was filled with light. When the next shift comes, it is subtle, not a quake, not a roar, just the knowledge that something above you has ceased to exist. A structure, perhaps a nearby villa or a section of aqueduct, has collapsed under the mounting weight of ash and pumice. The sound is distant but final, like a door closing. The cellar groans with it, not physically, though there is always a tremble in the bones of the stone, but spiritually. The air tightens, someone coughs, and you hear a soft prayer whispered from the back corner, muffled in fabric and fear. You find yourself drawn to the cracks in the wall. Hairline, harmless for now, but somehow you can't stop looking, counting them. Above, in the city that once thrived with colour and commerce, the very veins of Pompeii are hardening. The fountains no longer bubble. The roads, once grooved with cart tracks and muddy footprints, have become indistinguishable beneath layers of ash. The public baths are buried, their warm water cooled and entombed. The amphitheatre, where you once cheered and laughed, stands dark, hollowed out, half swallowed. Awnings have caved in, wooden lintels broken under quiet, insistent pressure. The painted walls of homes, scenes of Bacchus and Apollo, of vines and lovers and distant myths, are now curtains beneath soot. What had been Pompeii's pulse, the hum of daily life, is now muffled under a monochrome weight. Even the voices of the gods, once imagined in the thunder and wind, have gone quiet. Inside the cellar, the light of the oil lamp flickers weakly. The air has changed again. Not warmer this time, but thinner. Breaths come harder, as if the air must be pulled from deep within stone itself. You wrap a cloth around your face. Others do the same. A small bowl of water sits in the centre of the room, shared between many. You dip your fingers in and touch your lips. The water tastes of dust. Someone speaks, an old man, a teacher perhaps, about the gods of the underworld. He says this is how Tartarus must begin. Not with fire, but with forgetting. He speaks slowly in a low tone, more to himself than to anyone else. You watch the others listen, or pretend not to. The words are all anyone has left. No more fleeing, no more plans. A woman next to you pulls a wax tablet from a leather pouch. Her fingers shake, but she begins to write. A message, it seems. She presses the stylus into the wax with care, even as the shaking of her hand distorts the lines. She catches you watching and gives a faint, tired smile. "For my sister," she whispers. "If they ever dig us up." You nod, though the thought twists in your chest. Who will dig? When? And if they do, what will they see? Not the laughter, not the midday sun, not the colours or the voices. Only this. A room, a handful of strangers, silence, fear, and the dust of a dying world. Another small tremor. The lamp guttering. Your body now aches from being curled too long in one position, but you dare not move too much. The walls feel thinner. Even the ceiling seems to lean closer. In your mind, you wander. You walk once more down the street of shops. You see the frescoes again, bright oranges, sea blues, deep reds. You pass the bakery where bread, baked in circular loaves, now lies fossilized in thought. You hear a vendor call out for olives and dates. You see your friend wave from her upper window. You turn, and Vesuvius looms again, but in this memory, it is quiet. A gentle green slope beneath the sky, harmless, watching, as always. Back in the cellar, the memory fades. The air pulses with heat again, not sharply, but steadily, as though the mountain above is breathing out warmth even here beneath the stone. You hear someone weeping, not loudly, just the sound of a body letting go. No one interrupts. There is nothing to say. You close your eyes again, not from exhaustion this time, but to listen. To listen to the death of a city. Not in shouts, not in flame, but in breath. The slow surrender of marble and flesh to a force older than gods and empires. The eruption continues above. The rain of ash has begun to carry heavier stones, pumice clattering like hail onto what roofs remain. The sky, for those few still outside, is darker than night, and the air is fire-laced. The few who remain wandering Pompeii stumble through a dream of grey. Some sit down and simply wait. Others pray, alone or aloud. A dog howls, trapped and forgotten, and through it all, the city holds its breath, waiting, like you, trapped in a moment that will not end. Time, in this place, no longer belongs to the sun or moon. It is measured now by the heaviness of ash upon the roof, by the slowing beat of breath, by the moments between distant collapses above. Inside the cellar, the world has drawn inward. It has shrunk to whispers, the occasional clink of ceramic, the rustle of shifting limbs in dust. You have lost count of the hours. They may have become days. You cannot tell anymore. Someone near the door had tried to lift the hatch, long ago now, only to be driven back by the heat, by the air thick with choking ash. He had not tried again. You remember his hands shaking, the terror in his eyes. He sits now in silence, staring at nothing. You all have learned to listen to the sound of the mountain, its breathing, its rumbling, its cruel patience. You think about your mother, who lived outside the city, near Nola. Had she seen the column of smoke? Had she tried to come for you? You know she couldn't have reached you in time. But maybe she's watching the sky, praying, imagining you already gone and hoping against it. It is difficult to hold on to memories here. Your thoughts drift. In this small, half-lit tomb, even your own name seems distant. You try to remember your favourite colour, and all you can see is grey. The oil lamp flickers again, supplies are low, the water has taken on a bitter taste, and no one speaks of food anymore. You are no longer hungry, only tired in your bones. Outside, Pompeii is hardening. The once soft ash is setting into a kind of stone, even as it continues to fall in waves. Villas stand half swallowed. Gardens are gone, their fruit trees buried beneath layers of debris. The Forum is unrecognisable, its columns bent and cracked. Statues of gods and emperors lie face down, smothered. A fountain still trickles faintly somewhere, but only for a little while longer. In the city's outer districts, walls have given way entirely. The suburban baths are choked with rubble. Even the roads leading out, those that might have offered escape, are hidden, vanished beneath the ash. The harbour has changed too. Boats once anchored there are gone, swept away or overturned. The shoreline is reshaped by falling debris and the strange tides the eruption has summoned. The sea, which once brought goods and laughter and travellers, now lies still under a darkened sky. But back in the cellar, you are not thinking of the sea. You are focused on the quiet sound of a young boy nearby, humming softly to himself. A song you do not know. His eyes are closed. He is trying to pretend. You think of your own childhood, when the world was bright, and summers were slow and filled with the sound of birds. There are no birds now. You remember that suddenly, with a kind of sharpness. They fled first, didn't they? You had noticed that, just before it began, and now it feels like a clue left too late. The ceiling groans again, louder this time. A crack appears in the far corner where the wall meets the stone slab above. Everyone sees it. No one says anything. What would they say? You shift your weight, careful not to disturb the others, and lie back once more against the cool stone. Your fingers trace the roughness of the floor. It is volcanic stone, cut and placed here generations ago in another time, by hands that did not know what would come. And then, gently, a new sound rises through the heavy silence. The whisper of something sliding down, a trickle of ash falling into the cellar through the tiniest crack, almost like snow again. Soft, relentless. The air is hotter now, not from fire but from pressure. You can feel it behind your eyes, in your ears. The mountain has not finished. Somewhere far away, a roof gives out entirely and the sound echoes like a muffled drumbeat through the ground. The boy stops humming. Someone begins to pray again. This time the words barely form. You close your eyes and imagine walking through the garden of your youth. The grapevines, the smell of crushed rosemary underfoot. You imagine it in vivid detail. The cool stone of the fountain where you once sat and watched bees move through lavender. You imagine the sky bright and blue again. You walk there now, in your mind slowly. Above, Pompeii becomes part of the mountain. The ash is no longer a rain, it is a shroud, a seal, a weight beyond the physical, a burial not just of people, but of an entire rhythm of life. All the laughter, the meals, the arguments, the art, the lives begun and ended, held in suspension, waiting. And still, in this cellar, you breathe, for now. It is strange what you notice when the outside world no longer moves. There is a point, deep in that buried cellar, where the noise from above disappears entirely. The collapses grow fewer. The mountain seems for a time to pause, its fury having ebbed just enough to leave you in that suspended in-between, not safe, not gone, just still. You do not know if it is night or day. You no longer ask. The oil lamp burned out some time ago. You cannot remember the moment it died, only the dimming warmth against your eyelids, until all that remained was the memory of light. There is only darkness now, total and quiet. You share breath with the others in the room, but no one speaks anymore. The ash has reached the cracks in the ceiling, Sometimes it filters in slowly, like mist curling into a forgotten place. Sometimes it falls in a quick, cruel spill, heavy and gritty on your skin. It itches your eyes. You no longer bother to wipe it away. Somewhere beside you someone coughs, dry and ragged. The sound scrapes the silence, then nothing. You wonder, quietly, if you'll hear them again. There is a part of your mind that resists this place, that screams for the world above. But it is muted now. The instinct to survive still burns, but softly, more like an ember than a flame. You reach out in the darkness and your fingers brush against stone. You trace it absently. The same stone that formed Pompeii itself, the same stone that paved its streets and built its homes. And now, it is the same stone that entombs it. Ash and pumice, heat and silence. A new architecture, born from fire and pressure. Above, the city is unrecognizable. The grand villas along the Via dell'Abbondanza are buried nearly to their rooftops. Their frescoes, scenes of love, of triumph, of gods reclining on golden clouds, have vanished beneath the weight. The amphitheatre lies quiet. The stalls that once sold fresh bread and wine are covered in layers of stone-like dust, their shelves frozen mid-sail. A dog lies curled in what once was a courtyard, now a grey room with no sky, its body preserved even in death by the very thing that killed it. Time is soft here. It blurs. You might remember a dream, or perhaps it's a memory. You are walking once more in the shadow of the Temple of Isis, where the columns rise like fingers pleading toward heaven. Incense clings to the air, and the priestess walks slowly through the inner sanctum, her voice low and rhythmic. You used to come here on market days, not to pray, but because the garden outside the temple always smelled of laurel and lemon balm. You remember the sound of the fountain. It had a note to it, almost musical, the way it fell. It is gone now, buried like everything else. Inside the cellar, someone is whispering in Latin. Fragments of verse, a psalm, you can't tell. The voice is soft, as if afraid to wake the stones themselves, but the words are steady, anchoring. You try to focus on them, follow them through the dark like stepping stones across a river of silence. Then, another sound, a groan from above, a shift, a tremble. The ash is resettling. Something else has collapsed. You brace yourself for more, but it doesn't come, only dust sifting down in faint grey streams. The cellar holds for now. You wonder if anyone will come, if there's anyone left to come. Mycenium's across the bay. You remember the harbour as it was, the last time you stood at the water's edge. Sailors shouting, ropes creaking, the stink of fish and salt and old wine barrels. The kind of chaos that made a place feel alive. You try to imagine it now. Did they see what was coming? Did they watch the mountain and understand? You'd heard of Pliny the Elder, sailing toward the danger, not away. Brave, some said. Others whispered of foolishness. But what was bravery if not refusing to look away when the sky is falling? You lie still, breathing. The dust clings to everything now. It is inside your clothes, your mouth, your thoughts. But your heartbeat still ticks, slow and even. There is something sacred in that rhythm, even here. Around you, the others remain silent. Some sleep, if sleep is what this state can be called. Some dream. You think you do too. Of vineyards, of sun on olive trees, of your father's voice calling from the end of a long corridor. You walk toward it. You know you will never reach him, but you keep walking. Outside, the mountain grows quiet, but not finished. The ash settles, cooling in layers. In the days to come it will harden. It will seal the city like a letter never delivered, its contents waiting to be opened centuries later. For now, Pompeii is hidden, beneath stone, beneath time, beneath the breath of those who still wait, far below. And you wait with them. Time feels like a soft shadow stretching over your mind. The hours have melted into one another, and outside this buried chamber, the world is swallowed beneath an unyielding blanket of ash and silence. The sun is a distant memory, its warmth extinguished by the heavy grey sky. You lie there, the weight of the stone above pressing not just on the roof of your shelter, but on the edges of your thoughts, softening them, making them slower. Your breath is shallow, each inhale a careful negotiation with the thick, dry air that tastes of crushed rock and forgotten moments. In the quiet, your senses begin to reach for memories. Faint impressions of Pompeii, before the eruption. You imagine the city alive once more, the market stalls vibrant with fruit, pomegranates, figs, and grapes glistening with dew, the sound of the blacksmith's hammer striking iron, ringing out over the laughter of children running barefoot across the sun-baked stones. You recall the scent of freshly baked bread from the bakery near the amphitheatre, the rich aroma drifting through the air, mingling with the salty tang of the sea breeze. The scent is nearly lost now, buried beneath the weight of ash and loss. Your mind drifts to the mountain itself, Mount Vesuvius, the great sleeping giant that chose this moment to awaken. Once a distant silhouette against the horizon, it has transformed into an unstoppable force, reshaping the land with fire and fury. The mountain's breath now stills, but you know it is only a pause. Beneath that hardened surface lies a restless heart, a reminder that nature's power is patient, and its stories are endless. As your eyes close slowly, you feel the echo of the city's heartbeat, a rhythm caught between life and memory. The stones of Pompeii hold stories, whispers of love and loss, of celebration and sorrow, frozen in time, waiting for the world to remember. So you rest now, wrapped in the quiet embrace of history, where the past and present intertwine gently, like the folds of a soft cloak. Let your mind wander through these ancient streets, the warmth of a fading sun on your face, the whisper of the wind through olive trees, and the promise of morning yet to come. As you lie there, wrapped in darkness, a faint memory surfaces, not of the chaos or fear, but of whispers. Soft voices drifting through the warm air before the ash began to fall, voices that spoke of everyday moments, simple stories lost in the sweep of time. You imagine a woman seated near a well in the city's garden, her fingers weaving delicate garlands of myrtle and lavender. She hums quietly, a song passed down from her mother, its melody gentle as the evening breeze. Nearby, a young boy chases a bright yellow butterfly, laughter spilling from his lips like the light of a flame. The scent of fresh figs ripening in the sun drifts past, mingling with the distant call of a merchant hawking his wares. You reach out, trying to touch these memories, to feel the warmth of those days before the mountain's wrath. The air feels thick, not just with ash, but with the stories of those who lived, loved, and dreamed here. Beneath you, the earth holds these whispers tight. Each fragment of pottery, each fresco painted in vibrant reds and blues, each stepping stone worn smooth by countless footsteps, all frozen in place, caught in the moment when the world paused. The weight pressing down is immense, yet strangely soothing. It is as if the city itself is breathing slowly, cradled beneath its ashen blanket, waiting for time to unfurl its stories again. In your mind's eye, you walk down a narrow street lined with shops. A potter shapes clay with careful hands, his fingers steady despite the tremors. An elderly man pauses at a small shrine, offering a handful of herbs and whispered prayers for protection. A dog lies curled near a fountain, its eyes half closed, dreaming. You feel the pulse of life in these fragments, gentle and unyielding. Outside, the mountain sleeps, its breath heavy but steady. The storm has passed, but the earth still hums softly beneath your feet, a quiet reminder of the forces that shape our world, silent yet powerful. And here you are, a silent witness, wrapped in the darkness, connected to a moment lost yet preserved, a thread woven through centuries. In the quiet that follows, your thoughts drift like soft petals falling through dappled sunlight to a garden once alive with colour and fragrance. You picture it, a secluded courtyard tucked behind a domus, where climbing roses and jasmine twine around ancient columns. The air here smelled sweet, mingling earth and bloom, a sanctuary from the heat of the day. You walk slowly along the stone path, your feet brushing over fallen leaves warmed by the fading sun. The garden is peaceful, untouched by the eruption's fury, a secret world beneath the city's bustle, where time seemed to pause and breathe. A marble bench sits beneath an olive tree, gnarled and wise, its silver leaves whispering in the gentle breeze. You pause, tracing your fingers over the cool stone, worn smooth by countless visitors seeking solace. Nearby, a small fountain burbles quietly, its clear water catching glimmers of light. You imagine children leaning over its edge, watching fish dart beneath the surface, their laughter carried softly on the air. The scent of ripe figs hangs heavy on the branches, mingling with the faint perfume of crushed herbs beneath your feet. Here, in this tranquil place, the world feels distant. The mountain's roar is a muted echo, far beyond the walls that cradle this hidden garden. The sky above, once bright and endless, is now veiled in a thin grey veil, filtering sunlight into a soft, gentle glow. You remember that before the ash fell, the garden was a place for stories, whispered secrets shared beneath the canopy, plans made in hushed tones, moments of quiet joy tucked away from the city's clamour. You settle onto the bench, letting the cool marble ground your thoughts. The air is still, carrying with it the weight of centuries. You feel the pulse of history beneath you, not in grand gestures or loud proclamations, but in the subtle breathing of a city that once was. Around you, shadows lengthen, soft and warm, like a lullaby sung in a forgotten tongue. You close your eyes, and the garden becomes a place of dreams, a sanctuary between worlds. Breathe in the scent of earth and stone, of flowers and distant sea salt. Feel the cool shade fold over you, like a gentle embrace. Let the stillness wrap around your mind and body, steady and calm. Night descends slowly over Pompeii, wrapping the city in a blanket of velvet darkness, pierced by the soft glow of flickering lanterns. You find yourself wandering through narrow alleys, where shadows dance gently against the worn stone walls, and the air holds a coolness that soothes the heat left behind by the day. The lanterns cast a golden light, delicate and warm, painting patterns on the cobblestones beneath your feet. Their flames waver in the soft breeze, breathing life into the quiet streets as if the city itself were sighing in relief after a long, tense day. You pass by small homes where families gather close, their voices low and comforting. The scent of herbs, rosemary, sage and thyme, drifts from windowsills, mingling with the faint aroma of roasting chestnuts. The muffled sound of a lyre drifts from a distant atrium, its gentle chords weaving a melody both haunting and tender. Somewhere ahead, a group of friends share stories by the firelight, their faces illuminated in warm hues, eyes reflecting the glow of companionship and shared history. Their laughter is soft, tempered by the uncertainty that lingers in the air, unspoken fears carried away with the smoke rising toward the night sky. As you move deeper into the heart of the city, the sounds become more distant, replaced by the steady rhythm of your footsteps and the quiet hum of the evening breeze brushing through olive trees. You notice a small shrine, its altar adorned with fresh flowers and burning incense, flickering softly, as if guarding the passage of time itself. In this fragile stillness, the world feels suspended, caught between the weight of what has been and the unknown that awaits. The mountain looms silently beyond the horizon, its silhouette a dark sentinel against the starless sky, holding secrets in its ancient grasp. The night stretches endlessly, like a dark ocean surrounding the fragile city, its waves of silence lapping gently against the worn stones beneath your feet. You find yourself standing at the edge of the forum once more, where the great marble columns loom like ancient sentinels, their surfaces cold and slick beneath the faint ash settling from the heavy sky. The air is thick, not with heat or smoke, but with a quiet so profound it seems to press upon your very soul. Around you the city sleeps uneasily. Lanterns flicker in windows like distant stars, their light fragile and wavering, struggling against the oppressive shadow cast by the looming mountain. Somewhere far away, the muffled sound of a dog's bark cuts through the stillness, a lonely echo in a world suddenly hushed. You settle down beside a broken statue, its features softened by time and the cruel kiss of volcanic dust. Your fingers brush over the cool stone, tracing the worn curves of a forgotten face. The statue's eyes seem to watch, silent and eternal, bearing witness to moments long past, yet frozen in the embrace of ash. As you sit, your thoughts drift to the people who once filled these streets with life. The merchants bartering their goods, the children darting through the crowds, the artisans creating beauty from marble and paint. Each step you imagine is a heartbeat, each whisper a breath carried on the warm Mediterranean wind. The mountain, ever present, towers in the distance like a sleeping giant. Its outline is jagged and mysterious against the muted sky, a reminder of forces beyond human control. Tonight the earth feels still, but beneath that stillness lies a restless power, a deep and ancient energy that neither time nor man can tame. The smell of ash is faint but constant, a dusty veil that clings to your skin and clothes, a reminder of the invisible weight that blankets the city. You breathe slowly, deliberately, letting the rhythm of your breath echo the heartbeat of Pompeii itself. A pulse caught between fear and hope, between past and eternity. Somewhere nearby, a candle guttered and flickered, its flame a fragile beacon in the vast darkness. You think of the families gathered close in their homes, holding each other in quiet comfort, sharing whispered prayers and stories to chase away the shadows. As the night deepens, your mind wanders through the labyrinthine streets of Pompeii, now empty and hushed beneath the heavy blanket of ash. The usual hum of life has been silenced, replaced by a profound stillness that settles like a soft fog over the worn cobblestones. Each narrow alleyway, each weathered doorway, holds the echoes of footsteps and voices long gone, frozen in a moment that will never be forgotten. You walk slowly, your bare feet pressing gently against the stones, feeling the rough textures worn smooth by generations of footsteps. The walls on either side rise up like silent guardians, their surfaces mottled with the faded colours of murals that once told stories of gods and heroes, of love and triumph. Now those colours are muted, dusted with grey, but still alive beneath the veil of time. Around a corner you come upon a small bakery, its door ajar. Inside, the wooden table still holds remnants of yesterday's bread, crumbs scattered like tiny fossils, a forgotten loaf half covered with a cloth dusted in ash. The scent of warm wheat and honey lingers faintly, a ghost of comfort in the stillness. Further along you find a fountain, its stone basin cracked but still holding a shallow pool of water, reflecting the dim light of the moon as it peeks through clouds. The gentle trickle is barely audible, a whisper of life amid the silence. Nearby, vines have begun to creep over the edges, their leaves dark and glossy against the pale ash. You pause to listen. The city seems to breathe beneath you, a slow, steady rhythm that speaks of endurance and memory. You imagine the lives once lived here, a mother calling her children home for dinner, a craftsman closing his shop after a long day, friends sharing stories under the glow of lanterns. Despite the stillness, there is a softness in the night air, a quiet invitation to rest and dream. The ash that covers the streets feels less like a weight and more like a blanket, one that holds the city tenderly, preserving its stories in silence. As you continue your walk, you notice a small shrine tucked into a corner, its altar untouched by time. Fresh flowers lay beside a flickering oil lamp, the flame steady and warm. You kneel briefly, feeling the calm that settles in this sacred space, a reminder of faith and hope, even in the darkest moments. You breathe deeply, the cool night air filling your lungs, carrying with it the distant sound of waves gently kissing the shore. The sea is calm, a mirror reflecting the quiet constellations above. The city waits, wrapped in stillness, held in the arms of history. You find yourself drawn toward one of Pompeii's grandest residences, the House of the Faun, standing proud and silent amidst the surrounding ruins. Its vast atrium stretches before you, a mosaic of colour and intricate design, still vibrant despite the layers of ash and time. The floor beneath your feet feels cool, the tesserae smooth and steady, as if whispering stories of the hands that crafted them centuries ago. In the centre of the atrium, the famous mosaic of the Nile River unfolds, a delicate map of animals and reeds, crocodiles basking alongside graceful birds, painted not with brushstrokes but with thousands of tiny stones. You imagine the artist's patient fingers, the steady hands placing each piece just so, creating a world alive in colour and detail. The columns that surround the courtyard rise tall, their surfaces bearing the marks of both grandeur and quiet decay. You notice traces of faded frescoes, vivid scenes of gods, banquets and triumphs, once splashing the walls with colour. The scent of crushed flowers and incense still seems to linger faintly in the air, a trace of celebrations held here long ago. In a nearby room, the soft flicker of candlelight illuminates a small shrine dedicated to the household gods, the Lares and Penates. Offerings of fruit and bread rest on the altar, untouched by the chaos that would soon unfold. You kneel beside it, feeling a gentle stillness, a quiet reverence that threads through the house like a gentle current. Beyond the atrium, you wander into the triclinium, the dining room where lavish banquets once stretched late into the night. Rich tapestries adorned the walls, their threads shimmering under torchlight. Tables were laden with olives, figs, roasted meats, and the sweet wine that flowed freely. You hear faint echoes of laughter, the clink of goblets, the murmur of conversations that spoke of dreams and desires. But now the silence has claimed this place. The world beyond the walls is changing, the mountain's breath growing heavier with each passing moment. You feel the weight of history pressing softly but firmly upon your shoulders, a reminder that beauty and tragedy often walk hand in hand. You step into the peristyle garden, where fragrant herbs and vines climb gracefully along stone trellises. The rustle of leaves in the warm breeze is a quiet hymn to life, a gentle contrast to the growing shadow of the mountain. As you leave the grandeur of the House of the Faun, the quiet streets of Pompeii stretch before you like a sleeping giant under a heavy cloak of ash. The air is thick, carrying with it a strange stillness that feels almost sacred. But far in the distance, beneath the calm, a low rumble begins to stir. A subtle, distant thunder that vibrates through the earth like a whispered warning. You pause, letting the sound wash over you. It is not the ordinary noise of the city, but something deeper and more primal, as if the mountain itself is breathing, a slow, measured exhale that sends tremors beneath your feet. The sky above is a muted grey, the sun long swallowed by the veil of ash and smoke that now chokes the horizon. Around you, the city holds its breath. Doors are shuttered, and the few souls you see move with urgency softened by awe. In the distance, a dog barks once, sharply, then falls silent. The usual evening chorus of insects and night birds is absent, replaced by an eerie hush that wraps around every stone and shadow. You find a small bench beside a faded fountain, its water barely trickling, struggling against the ash that settles like fine dust upon its surface. Sitting there, you trace the intricate carvings of dolphins and sea creatures that adorn the basin, remnants of a world that seemed eternal just hours ago. The low rumble grows louder, not violent but insistent, like a slow drumbeat from deep beneath the earth. You feel it in your chest, a reminder of the power hidden just beyond sight, the restless force of Vesuvius awakening with purpose. Nearby a lantern flickers uncertainly, casting long, wavering shadows against the walls of a nearby bakery. You catch a glimpse of flour dust motes drifting lazily through the air, illuminated by the soft light. The smell of baked bread lingers faintly, a gentle comfort amid the growing tension. You breathe deeply, letting the cool night air fill your lungs, carrying away the heaviness in your chest. The rumble fades momentarily, replaced by silence so profound it almost hums. Time seems to stretch and fold, the present blending with memory, the city suspended between moments. The night deepens and the air feels heavier now, charged with a silent electricity that seems to pulse softly beneath your skin. You find yourself walking again through the twisting, narrow streets of Pompeii, your footsteps muffled by the thick ash that blankets everything like a heavy, whispered secret. The world is muted, colours faded to shades of grey and silver, as if the city itself is holding its breath, waiting for something that cannot yet be named. The houses, once vibrant with life and laughter, stand still, frozen memories framed in stone and plaster. Doors hang slightly ajar, and inside the flicker of dying embers in hearths casts ghostly shadows on walls decorated with frescoes depicting scenes of gods, heroes, and everyday life. You pause in one small room where a spinning wheel lies still, the threads of wool tangled and waiting for hands that will never return. A faint breeze stirs the ash at your feet, lifting it in gentle swirls that catch the dim light like tiny stars in a dark sky. The smell of dust and smoke lingers, mingling with something more delicate, the faint scent of lavender and rosemary from a nearby garden, a tender reminder of beauty amidst desolation. You continue toward the city's edge, where the land begins to slope gently toward the sea. The harbour is quiet now, ships tethered and bobbing softly in the still waters. Lanterns hang from masts, their flames flickering with uncertainty. Fishermen's nets lie coiled and forgotten on the docks. The salty tang of the sea air blends with the acrid scent of volcanic ash, creating a strange perfume that speaks of endings and beginnings intertwined. Far above Mount Vesuvius looms an enormous shadow etched against the night sky. Its peak is hidden now by thick clouds of smoke and ash, swirling like restless spirits caught in a timeless dance. The mountain's breath has grown heavier, more insistent, and you can feel its pulse beneath your feet, a deep, rhythmic thrum that echoes in your bones. As you stand there, the distant rumble returns, a low, rolling sound like thunder far away, but closer and more ominous with every passing moment. The ground trembles subtly, sending a shiver through the city's ancient stones. Somewhere in the distance a dog howls, a mournful, solitary cry that pierces the heavy air. You turn back toward the heart of Pompeii, the city you know so well but which now feels transformed, caught in a fragile moment between life and oblivion. The streets are empty, but you sense the presence of those who once walked here. Ghosts of laughter, whispers of love, the faintest traces of dreams. The night stretches on, endless and profound, a vast ocean of shadows that swallow every corner of Pompeii. You walk slowly now, each step softened by the thick blanket of ash that continues to settle, as if the city is slowly being wrapped in a shroud, a quiet farewell from the earth itself. The air is heavy but still, carrying the weight of unsaid words and unfinished moments. In the faint glow of distant fires, you notice flickering shapes, silhouettes of people moving with cautious urgency, their faces smeared with ash, eyes wide with a mix of fear and disbelief. Mothers clutch children close, their whispered prayers barely audible beneath the constant murmur of the mountain's restless breath. The scent of burnt wood and scorched earth hangs in the air, blending with the more familiar aromas of herbs and spices from the city's gardens and kitchens, now abandoned. You pause near a narrow alley where a broken amphora lies on the cobblestones, its scattered fragments glinting faintly. Nearby, a stray dog, its fur dusted with ash, moves silently through the gloom, a living thread of life in a city caught between worlds. Above you, the sky is a roiling canvas of smoke and ash, shifting and swirling like restless spirits. The stars are hidden, swallowed by the thick veil that blocks out the moon's gentle light. The mountain's distant rumble deepens, a low growl that vibrates through your chest, connecting you to the ancient power beneath the earth. You find a small shrine tucked between two houses, a place where the faithful once left offerings to the gods. The altar is still there, cracked but steadfast, dusted with ash like a thin layer of time itself. You imagine the hands that placed those offerings, the hopes and fears whispered in the quiet moments before sleep. A sudden gust of wind stirs the ash, sending a delicate flurry into the air. It dances and twirls around you, catching the light like tiny sparks, before settling softly again. You take a deep breath, letting the cool, heavy air fill your lungs, feeling the slow, steady rhythm of your heartbeat in the stillness. This is a city frozen in time, a world suspended between the final moments of everyday life and the timeless silence that follows. The darkness around you deepens, soft and velvety, as if the night itself has wrapped Pompeii in a gentle embrace. The air remains thick with ash, settling slowly like a quiet snowfall, smothering the city in layers of grey. Yet within this vast stillness, small flickers of light persist, tiny beacons that pierce the gloom, fragile but unyielding. You find yourself drawn toward one such glow, coming from a modest home near the city's edge. Through the cracked shutters, the warm flicker of a candle dances against faded frescoes and cracked walls, painting shadows that waver like memories. Inside, a family huddles close, their faces etched with exhaustion and fear, but also with an unspoken resolve. They pass quietly between each other, offering water and whispered words, clinging to the fragile hope that dawn might bring relief. Outside, the distant rumble of Vesuvius continues, a low, unending growl that seems to pulse with the heartbeat of the earth itself. The ground beneath your feet feels alive, vibrating softly as if the mountain's fury is only moments away from bursting forth again. Yet here, in the flickering candlelight, time feels suspended, each breath slow, each heartbeat measured, as if the world has paused to hold its own breath. You imagine the stories that filled these rooms before the ash. Children laughing, meals shared in warmth, the simple comfort of routine. Now these small human moments shine like stars in the enveloping darkness, reminders of life's persistence even in the face of looming destruction. Beyond the window, the streets are deserted, blanketed by ash that muffles every sound, turning the world into a quiet, vast cathedral. The scent of wet earth mixes with smoke, carrying the promise of rain or perhaps the final exhale of the mountain. The night stretches endlessly, a quiet canopy woven from threads of smoke and ash, wrapping Pompeii in a dense, heavy silence. You walk through the empty streets, your steps softened by the thick layer of powdery ash that cushions every stone and cobblestone. The world feels suspended, as if time itself has slowed to a deliberate crawl, the city caught in a fragile moment between what was and what will never be again. The air is thick and dry, each breath a quiet effort as you inhale the fine particles that settle like dust in your lungs. The scent of charred wood and damp earth mingles with the faintest hint of olive groves beyond the city walls, a bittersweet reminder of life's persistence beneath the weight of devastation. Somewhere nearby, a single lantern flickers weakly, casting long wavering shadows that stretch across the cracked walls of a once grand villa. You find yourself drawn to a small courtyard, where a broken fountain lies silent, its waters long stilled. Around its basin, fallen leaves and scattered petals are pressed beneath the ash, preserved like delicate memories in a frozen moment. The painted walls here are chipped and faded, but traces of vibrant colours remain, deep reds, soft blues and golds that once told stories of gods and heroes, now muted beneath layers of dust. Above, the sky is a swirling tempest of ash clouds, thick and suffocating, blotting out the stars and moon. The mountain's roar pulses in the distance, a deep, unyielding growl that vibrates through the stones beneath your feet. The ground trembles faintly, a reminder of the restless force sleeping just beyond sight, a force that has already begun to reshape the world. In the stillness you notice a small clay lamp, half buried in ash near the steps leading to a collapsed doorway. Its soft, flickering light is long extinguished, but you imagine the warmth it once offered, a beacon in the dark, a companion in the night. Nearby, a child's sandal lies forgotten, its straps tangled with the fine dust, a silent testament to the suddenness of the night's terror. You pause and let the silence fill you, the quiet weight of history pressing gently against your skin. This city, once vibrant and alive with the hum of daily life, is now a place of whispers and shadows, frozen in time beneath the ashen veil. The first light of dawn, though faint and fragile, begins to press gently against the heavy curtain of ash that still clings to the sky above Pompeii. You stand at the threshold of a collapsed home, where the broken roof allows thin slivers of pale morning light to pierce the gloom like hesitant fingers searching for warmth. The world feels muted, the usual chorus of birdsong and daily bustle silenced beneath the weight of what has passed. As you step carefully over shattered pottery and fallen beams, you notice the subtle impressions left behind. The faint outline of a hand on a wall, the delicate curls of a child's hair caught forever in plaster, the hollow space where a family once gathered. These traces of life are small and fragile, yet they speak volumes in the silence, whispering stories that time cannot erase. You wander slowly through a narrow street lined with shops and homes, each doorway a silent witness to the final moments before the world changed forever. A merchant's stall stands abandoned, ripe figs scattered across its wooden table, now dusted with ash, but still vibrant in shape and memory. Nearby, a torn tapestry hangs limply, its threads tangled in dust, a silent relic of the colours and patterns that once brightened these walls. The air is cool now, a gentle breeze stirring the ash and lifting it in soft clouds that drift through the empty streets like restless spirits. The scent of burnt wood is still faint but fading, replaced by the earthy smell of wet stone and moss that grows slowly beneath the debris. You can almost hear the distant murmur of the sea, its waves brushing softly against the shore beyond the city walls, indifferent to the tragedy that has unfolded. Your footsteps carry you toward the forum, where the grand marble columns stand broken but unbowed. The square is deserted, yet you feel the weight of countless footsteps that once filled this space, the chatter of merchants, the debates of orators, the laughter of children chasing one another beneath the sun. The city's heart, now stilled, beats faintly in the memories etched into every stone. As the pale light strengthens, you sense a fragile calm settling over the ruins. The mountain's fury has passed, but its presence lingers, silent, eternal. Pompeii is no longer a living city, but a frozen moment in time, a story whispered by the earth and carried on the wind. Let this quiet peace settle into you as the day begins anew, soft and slow. The sun, now higher but still muted beneath a veil of lingering ash and smoke, casts a pale light over the silent streets of Pompeii. The city is draped in a ghostly quiet, the usual clamour of life replaced by an overwhelming stillness that feels both unnatural and profound. You walk slowly along the deserted Via dell'Abbondanza, once a bustling artery of commerce and conversation, now softened beneath layers of grey dust. Around you, the buildings stand like hollow shells, their walls cracked and blackened, doorways gaping open as if waiting for their inhabitants to return. You pause to peer inside a small bakery where the ovens stand cold and empty, the counters dusted with ash, and scattered fragments of bread still caught in baskets long forgotten. The scent of yeast and flour, once so comforting, has been replaced by the bitter tang of smoke and silence. As you continue, you notice the delicate carvings on a marble column, worn by time but still visible, a testament to the artistry and care that once flourished here. Nearby, a rusted iron gate swings faintly in the breeze, creaking softly, the only sound in a city held in suspended breath. The breeze carries with it faint whispers, as if the walls themselves remember the voices that once filled these streets. The shouts of merchants, the footsteps of children, the soft murmur of lovers' secrets. You come upon an empty fountain, its basin cracked and dry. You imagine the cool water that once bubbled here, refreshing the city's inhabitants on hot summer days. The stillness now is complete, almost sacred, a resting place where time has paused to honour the lives that were abruptly silenced. Above, the sky slowly begins to clear, the thick ash clouds parting like curtains to reveal a pale blue that hints at the return of calm. The mountain looms silently in the distance, a dark and powerful sentinel watching over the ruins below. Its rage has passed, but the scars it left behind remain etched into the very stones of Pompeii. You take a deep breath, filling your lungs with the cool, ash-laden air, feeling the weight of history settle gently around you. The city sleeps beneath the veil of time, and so too can you. As you wander away from the main streets, a narrow path leads you toward a secluded garden, hidden behind high stone walls. Once a place of tranquility and beauty, the garden now lies silent beneath a blanket of ash, the vibrant greens faded to muted greys. The air here is cooler, carrying a faint, earthy scent of crushed leaves and damp soil, a fragile reminder of life that still persists beneath destruction. You step through an iron gate, its hinges rusted and creaking softly in the stillness. Inside, the outlines of carefully tended flower beds emerge beneath the dust. Roses, lavender, and oleanders, their shapes frozen as if caught in an eternal moment before the disaster. Petals lie scattered among fallen leaves, half buried in ash, delicate as memories pressed between pages of a forgotten book. In the centre of the garden, a marble bench stands, cracked but dignified, worn smooth by countless hours of quiet reflection. You sit gently, the stone cool beneath your fingertips, and imagine the lives that once found peace here, the whispered conversations, the stolen moments of calm, the gentle touch of a hand as lovers met beneath the shade. Above you, the sky slowly clears, the heavy clouds lifting to reveal soft bands of pale morning light. The mountain looms beyond the garden walls, its dark silhouette softened by distance, a silent guardian of the secrets buried beneath its feet. Despite the devastation, the garden holds a quiet resilience, a whisper of hope nestled in the heart of the city's stillness. You breathe deeply, the cool air filling your lungs with a calmness that seeps into your bones. The world feels paused, suspended in a delicate balance between loss and memory, silence and remembrance. The day drifts slowly onward as you rise from the quiet garden, your footsteps tracing a path through streets softened by layers of ash and silence. The city feels like a vast, sleeping giant, still, vast and unmoving beneath the gentle weight of time. Every stone beneath your feet seems to hold a story, every cracked wall a secret, waiting patiently to be told. You wander through a quiet neighbourhood where once children played, and neighbours greeted each other with smiles. Now broken toys lie scattered and half buried, a small wooden doll missing an arm, a worn leather ball cracked and dusty. The laughter that once filled these streets is gone, replaced by the hush of shadows and the soft settling of ash. A gentle breeze stirs, lifting tiny clouds of dust that shimmer in the weak sunlight. You pause beside a collapsed wall, peering into what was once a bustling bakery, now frozen in time. On the floor you notice a simple loaf of bread, browned and cracked, preserved beneath a fine coating of ash, a humble testament to everyday life, interrupted abruptly. Beyond, the outlines of frescoes peek through cracks in the walls, delicate vines, mythic figures, and shimmering blues and reds, dulled, but still vivid enough to evoke the beauty that once adorned these homes. You imagine the hands that painted them, the artists working quietly with steady brushes, unaware of the catastrophe that would freeze their world forever. The mountain remains distant, but ever present, a dark silhouette etched against the slowly clearing sky, Its power, once terrifying and wild, now feels almost somber, a quiet reminder of nature's indifferent strength and the fragile human lives caught in its shadow. As the afternoon light softens and lengthens, you feel a calm settle over your heart, a quiet acceptance of the past and the slow, steady march of time that carries us all forward. As the light dims and the cool evening air begins to settle, your steps lead you toward the edges of the city, where shadows lengthen and the silence deepens. Beneath the cracked stones of Pompeii's streets lie secrets, hidden corridors and tunnels that whisper of a world beneath the surface, a world that now exists only in memory. You find yourself standing before an ancient doorway, its wooden panels swollen and cracked, iron hinges rusted from centuries of stillness. With a gentle push, it creaks open to reveal a stairway descending into the earth. The air here is cooler, heavy with the scent of damp stone and forgotten time. You step down carefully, the sound of your footsteps muffled by the thick walls surrounding you. The tunnels wind like veins beneath the city. Narrow passages that once carried water led to hidden chambers and provided shelter in times of danger. Now they are silent and still, a quiet refuge beneath the chaos that engulfed the surface. The flicker of your torch reveals walls etched with faded graffiti, names and messages left by those who sought safety here, echoes of fear, hope, and human connection carved into stone. You trace your fingers along the rough surface, feeling the weight of lives suspended between moments, frozen in these quiet corridors. Further in, the tunnel opens into a small chamber where you imagine families huddled, holding each other close, listening to the distant roar above, hoping against hope for a dawn that would never come. The thick air presses softly against your skin, carrying the faintest hum of voices long gone. As you rise and make your way back toward the surface, the city above is bathed in the soft glow of twilight, the stars beginning to peek through the clearing sky. The mountain rests in quiet majesty, its shadow stretching across the land like a gentle guardian. You take a deep breath and feel a serene calm envelop you, the echoes beneath the streets blending with the stillness of the night. Night deepens over Pompeii, and the city lies swathed in a delicate twilight, the sky above a soft canvas of fading pinks and purples. The stars begin to emerge, their gentle shimmer a quiet promise amid the stillness. You stand on a small hill overlooking the town, a vantage point where the rooftops stretch out like a patchwork quilt beneath the vast heavens. Below, the streets are empty, save for the occasional flicker of candlelight glowing behind shuttered windows, casting long shadows on the ancient stone. The air is cool now, carrying a faint scent of wild herbs and the distant salt of the sea. Somewhere nearby, an owl calls softly, its song weaving through the calm like a lullaby. As you watch, a faint breeze stirs the leaves of an olive tree, their silver-green edges catching the last light. You feel a gentle hush descend upon the world, as if the earth itself is drawing a slow, steady breath. This is the city as it was, just before everything changed. The final pause, the last quiet moment before history held its breath. The mountain looms silently, a dark silhouette against the horizon, its presence both powerful and inscrutable. Tonight it sleeps, wrapped in shadows, but you know its strength remains, waiting, watching. In this serene stillness, the past and present seem to merge, and you feel the gentle pulse of Pompeii's heart, a city forever remembered, forever resting beneath the ash. Now, as the night deepens and the world seems wrapped in a velvet darkness, you return once more to the streets of Pompeii. The city rests beneath a thick blanket of ash and stone, silent and still, its vibrant life paused and preserved for eternity. You walk slowly, your footsteps muffled by the soft dust beneath you, as though the earth itself has softened to hold its breath. The buildings stand like silent sentinels, homes, shops, temples, all frozen in a moment of sudden stillness. The faded frescoes and crumbled columns whisper stories of a day that ended abruptly, but also of lives lived fully, with hope, love, and ordinary joys. You feel their presence, echoes of voices and laughter, the touch of warm hands, the murmur of prayers. Above, the stars wheel silently through the sky, distant and eternal. The mountain's shadow fades into the night, a timeless watchman guarding the city's secrets. The ash that once fell like a shroud now rests quietly, a soft memory of fire and transformation. In this deep silence, you find a strange comfort, a connection across time to a world paused yet alive in memory. The night holds you gently, and you know that Pompeii's story, though marked by loss, is also a testament to endurance and remembrance. Now, as your breath slows and your body softens into rest, imagine yourself standing at the edge of time itself, where past and present gently intertwine. The ruins of Pompeii stretch before you like a faded dream, a city caught forever between moments, where silence speaks louder than words, and the stillness holds stories whispered by the wind. You feel the weight of centuries press lightly on your shoulders, not as a burden, but as a quiet embrace. The ash, once fierce and consuming, has become a veil that preserves the lives, hopes and fears of those who called this place home. Their stories, etched in stone and shadow, flow through you like a soft current. Above, the sky is endless, a deep, velvety black sprinkled with stars that have watched over this land since before the mountain's fury. The night carries a gentle hum, the whisper of time moving ever onward, weaving threads of memory and life across the ages. You stand here, a witness to a moment frozen and yet forever alive, connected by a fragile thread to those who vanished beneath the ash, their voices now a quiet song beneath the earth. Let yourself drift now on this gentle current, the past and present mingling softly as your eyes close, your breath deepens, and your heart finds peace. Sleep now. Close your eyes.